Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Touch Tales, Stories Behind the Hood. I'm your host, Frank Vargas, aka Traveling Frankie. And yes, you are right. One more guest, one more conversation, one more episode, because that's what we do here. And I have a good friend of the industry, Tim Gage. Tim, thank you so much for saying yes. And yes, the backdrop, it's a restaurant parking lot because we are at a restaurant. That's Apple Juice.
Apple juice.
Yep. Tim, so I've known you for a few years. And if you've watched a little bit of what this is, which I'm still trying to figure this out, so don't ask me what this is because I still don't know. But I want to touch a little bit on the journey, the path into the industry. Why the hell are you in it? Why would you do that? But anyway, so Tim, who are you with right now?
I'm with Dynaflux, based in Cartersville, Georgia.
Gotcha. And before I even ask you exactly what they do, now let's get to meet the person. So where is Tim from?
Tim calls Toledo, Ohio, home.
Really?
Yes.
That's funny. So I've done a few interviews now, and probably 5 of the guests are from Ohio, but they're here somewhere else. I wonder why.
Huge welding market.
Right, that's exactly what it is. So you grew up, born and raised there?
My high school years were in Ohio, so that's where I pretty much consider home. It was the longest I'd ever lived any place in my whole life. Yeah, so this year we're having our 45th reunion.
Wow.
And out of 96 people in my high school, I think we have about 65 coming.
96, such a
Very lucky.
big crowd.
And we know, everybody knows each
I
other.
can imagine.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So now as a kid, high school, what were you into? What kind of kid were you?
Football, basketball, baseball.
Like a watcher or a player?
A player. And then when I wasn't playing anything, I found a lot of satisfaction out of working at a golf gas service station.
Golf cart. Okay.
Yep, right in Toledo there. It was kind of the hub of what was going on. It was the first place I ever welded anything in my life.
Oh, really? So the first parks you ever saw was back then as a teenager?
Golf gas station, yep.
Wow.
Jerry Stroud, I worked
Now,
for.
let me ask you this. You guys know that I interrupt my guests, but I always come back. So just chill, relax. It's all good. Toledo. Is it true that they call that the saying Holy Toledo comes from because how many churches there are in Toledo?
Churches and restaurants.
Right? Because I was one of the GATA meetings that happens in that area. I remember driving by and I'm like, holy crap, that's a lot of churches. And then I started Googling some things. I'm like, yeah, that's why they say Holy Toledo.
Yep, Holy Toledo. It's known for a lot of things, the Mud Hens, baseball, Tony Pacos, University of Toledo, which I'm a product of.
Okay. All right, well, there you go. You're already learning stuff, and we haven't even dove into the rest. So high school ends, and what happens next?
What happens next is I go to work for General Motors for 2 years while I'm working I'm attending University of Western Michigan.
Doing what for?
Kalamazoo. So I was an I&O operator. I would run the pump truck and the service vehicles for the maintenance crews, the skilled trades guys. So
Gotcha.
It was funny because I would work that plant and I was always wondering who these guys walking through in these nice clothes were and the nice Hickey Freeman shoes, and this all started clicking together.
After a while, right?
Oh, that's the Sayeki welder guy. Oh, really? Okay, and that's the Hobart guy, and that's the. Yeah, so
wow.
That's where things started clicking.
Yeah, I was like, maybe there's something behind that, right? And that is so funny because that's exactly why I do this whole thing. The welding industry, it's so much more than actually just welding, and we are a prime example of that, right? You're not welding, I'm not welding, but we are in the welding industry, and we've been in the welding industry. Now, so you said you saw some sparks in high school. While you were working for the golf cart.
Golf gas
G-U-L-F,
station.
gotcha.
Yeah, golf gas station.
See, I'm so glad
That's
that
right.
you, yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, again, guys, I don't know what I'm doing. So now, at that moment, even though you were working there for the dealer, welding was not in your vision.
No, it was all cars. I was just car focused.
Really?
Yeah, I love cars.
And then once you left Ohio, where did you go next? Because you said you've lived in many places, never too long.
Yes, Kalamazoo, Michigan for 2 years.
And why? Was that just a job opportunity there?
I went to Western Michigan University for 2 years, and I worked at Hydromatic General Motors for 2 years while I was doing that.
All right, so now you are low 20s.
Yes.
right? And then where next?
We wanted to pick up the pace on the college thing a little bit, so we decided to go back to University of Toledo full time. And and get it done.
I'm not sure who we means, but yeah, right?
There's a time limit on everything.
Right? There you go. So you went back.
Back to University of Toledo. First job out of that was Toledo Office Supplies and Furniture, and that's exactly what it was, a locally family-owned business, 407 Washington.
Damn, you still remember?
And I would, because I wrote it down a whole bunch of times. And, I would just grab a stack of binders, Boise Cascade office supply books, and I would hit a neighborhood and just go door to door, basically.
Really?
One of the neighborhoods.
The original sales calls.
was the way you did it back then. When the binders were gone, it's time
go
to
get more.
Yeah, it was time to go get more, or call it a day.
Yeah, that is true. Only 3? Yeah.
Only 30. I would do 30 a day sometimes on cold calls. Yeah, because you just go, some of them little industrial parks, you just go door to door. One day I made a call at Welder's Needs in North Toledo.
Okay.
Welder's Needs was an airco distributor at the time, and this would have been about 1985.
That's a name you don't hear that often anymore, right?
Right. So
how was that call?
Oh, that was a great call.
Yeah?
Yep. So I got past the gatekeeper, and I got to the office
Till
manager.
this day do exist, yeah. There's so many in the industry as well, right?
It was legal pads and file folders, not super exciting stuff. But if you could get a furniture order out of it, then it started getting pretty exciting. So they started buying some stuff from me, and Toledo Office Supply delivered on good performance and great pricing, and it was all good. And one day I got a call from Robert Evans, the owner of the welding distributor, Welder's Needs.
Okay.
And he said, "Come on over here about 4:30, and I'd like to have a meeting with you." And I'm thinking to myself, well, something must be wrong.
So he only knew you as the sales guy for the furniture office stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So I show up at 4:30, and he brings me in the back, and he wants to redo an office. So I get my binders out, and we go through the whole list of stuff. And he puts together like it's a desk, a credenza, a chair.
It's like a rooms to go kind of.
Yeah, basically.
The whole setup,
couple of
right?
file cabinets, and we got that deal done, and all went great, And about a month later, I got another call from Bob. He said, "Tim, about 4:30, can you be over here on Thursday?" And I don't know if that was his time for me, but
it seems like consistent. Yeah.
4:30, I show up, and I have my box of binders with me. He says, "Come on in the back." And so I pick up my box of binders. He goes, "You won't be needing those." I'm like, "Okay." I'm thinking something must really be wrong this time. And he brings me back into his office, and he says, "Have you ever thought about selling welding equipment?" I said, "Bob, I wouldn't trust a weld that I made 10 feet down the road. So I've not ever made my life living as a welder." I said, "I don't know." He said, "We can teach you all that. Are you interested in becoming a sales rep for us?" And one thing led to another, and that was 1985, and this is 2024, and here we are.
Yeah, and that's what crazy that sometimes I have this conversation with youth, younger people, and sometimes all it takes is for someone else to see something else in you that you had no clue that you could do. Like, he saw you as a salesperson, a personality, maybe there was something that he liked, persistent, whatever. But he saw something beyond something that you were seeing. And that's usually how it works in life. And here you are now, all these years later, still in the welding industry.
Yep.
Right? Yeah, you've gone through, other companies, just like every one of us has. So now, how long did you work there?
Welder's Needs, about 4 years.
4 years.
Yes.
And that was back home.
Correct.
And so now I'm assuming you are late 20s, right? Somewhere in that area.
Yes.
Got it. So what happens after those 4 years?
The industrial market dried up a little in Northwest Ohio, Southeast Michigan. So, I got a wild hair, and I had some family that had relocated down to Austin, Texas.
Okay.
I thought to myself, this might be sometimes you just gotta take a step through the doorway, and you gotta go. So I took that leap and left my friends and.
So you didn't have a business proposal. You didn't have a job yet.
No,
you just.
I winged it, as they say.
See, that term still existed back there. You just go with the flow.
Yeah.
So Austin, Texas. Now you're there, and you're going to start from somewhat scratch, right?
Pretty much, yes. Except for what I learned at Welder's Needs in Toledo.
Okay.
Was all I had in my education.
So did you went right into, all right, let me get a job into the welding industry because now you've done this for 4 years?
Yeah, I did because I loved it so much. The people I met, the uniqueness of the industry, all the different sciences of the business are interesting to me.
Yeah.
And so I went right to work and canvassed every welding supply house in town and landed at Austin Oxygen, which I believe is a Matheson Tri-Gas location at 40 something Springdale in Austin, Texas.
Wow. So you were in Texas how long?
Another
overall?
4 years.
Another 4.
Another
All right.
4.
So here's the trend, guys. 4-4.
Yeah.
So Austin, Texas. What came next?
At a couple of the trade shows, I think there was an AWS show in Houston at one point.
Okay.
I had met some of the folks at Binzel.
Okay.
And they were sort of interested in hiring me for the state of Texas, maybe Oklahoma, and I'm like, I'm pretty happy here in Texas, where I am here at Austin Oxygen, but I appreciate that.
Until they gave you an offer.
Well, I said, but I do have some family in Florida. In fact, that was where my mom and dad had retired down in Stewart. And I said, if something were to pop up down there, I said I might be interested in something like that. And I think it was 6 months later, I got a call from Dave Brill at Binzel and said, Tim, we got something in Southeast United States. Do you want to become the Binzel man? And I'm like,
I'm your man.
I think we have.
Yeah. That's when you came to Florida.
That's when I came to Florida.
Which has been now how many years?
I moved to Florida in 1993.
93, and you came straight into where we are, the area where we are?
Yeah, yeah.
Which is where exactly?
I moved into Clearwater. So we're on the west coast of Florida, Tampa Bay.
Okay, got it.
Tampa Bay.
Clearwater, and so for the last all those years, you've been on the west coast of Florida.
Yeah, almost 30 now. So so longest I've ever lived anywhere, and I feel like I really have like some roots into the ground.
Right, and I know you're married.
I am married. I have a daughter. She's a cracker, born here in Florida.
Yeah, good. I'm glad he explained what that meant, because if we would have just left it at she's a cracker.
Yeah. Crackers
Damn,
are born
Tim,
in Florida.
I'm sorry about your daughter. Yeah,
Not a derogatory.
Yeah. just saying, clearing things out.
Yeah.
So, how long have you been married?
24 years.
24, and you met her here in Florida?
I met her here in Florida at a Dale Carnegie sales training class at the Marriott at the airport. And It was a 9-week class. I think it was every Monday night for about 2.5 hours. And that's where I met her. She was selling durable medical goods, and I was working for Tregascus at the time selling welding torches.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So look at that. 2 people trying to better themselves, looking for Dale Carnegie, growth, personal growth, and bam, they hit it off. There you go.
I'm the happiest married man I know.
Yeah, well, is she the happiest
She
woman?
is.
He's already answering things for her. Yeah, we'll get the answer and maybe let you guys know.
She's going to watch this.
If that's true. That is true. And what does she do?
She's in medical sales now. She works for a local imaging company.
Okay.
MRIs, mammograms, X-ray.
Gotcha. Now, how much traveling were you doing when you first got married and you had your daughter? Were you doing a lot of traveling?
Yeah, I was doing a lot of traveling. I was with ESOB at the time, and it was 4 days a week, probably.
How was the marriage? Did she understood right away that, hey, that's what I did and it's part of it, or was there some adjusting period to that?
Well, that's a great question. So I traveled for a long time before I met my wife.
Okay.
So even while we were dating, engaged, that whole thing, I still traveled that whole time.
So slowly she was getting used to it.
Well, and then she started not minding 2 or 3 days, she can go out and pal around with her friends.
We're going to last a long time because you're never here. It's a great marriage, yeah.
That's right. Right. Well, you always know when it's time to go,
yeah.
But then you always know when it's time to come back.
Don't you have a trip to go on?
That's right. Well, that's when their toes tap.
The luggage is packed, the suit is on. I get that all the time as well. And now, so you worked, did you ever left the welding industry for a bit and then came back? Or since you started, you kind of coast through?
I've never really left it completely.
Okay.
I did spend 1 year selling PPE products to firefighters to work out a...
So you stayed in the industrial side of things,
yes,
but not specifically in the welding.
Always,
for
yes.
that year.
Correct.
Got it. What would you say now, 30 plus years in the industry, and you're still not giving up on the industry and still trying to rock it and do your thing because it's second nature. It's something that now it's muscle memory. We don't know how to do anything else, right? And if we were having this conversation earlier, if you're having fun and you still can do what you are hired to do, then why not? But what is the one thing that you find about this industry versus other friends that you have that are in other industries or other things that you've done in the past that it's so rewarding?
That's a great question. So in a lot of industries, you have a lot of brand loyalty. This is the brand, this is the brand we're marching to. I think in the welding specific, and this is even separate from industrial, I think the friendships are what solidifies this market. When I've been going to, just for example, GATA meetings since it was NWSA.
Is it? Was it?
Something like that.
Initials. Yeah. You guys Google it and let us know.
And there's still friends that I run into, and you might only see them 3 times a year or once a year, but you still get the hug, and you still get the clink, and you still have the loyalty and the friendship, and it's like your oldest friends. It's just a continuation of your last conversation. So that's the number one thing about this industry is the friendship and the loyalty.
That's a great. I love the way you answer that because of how you explain that. The other industries is mainly sometimes about the brand, and I never thought about it makes sense because I've always known it is about the relationships, and sometimes oh, you're with such and such, I'll buy it now just because it's you. I'll support you just because of that. So I totally get that. I'm glad you answered it that way because I've asked that question before, and everyone has their own version of that answer. But I like that. Nowadays, what would you say the biggest difference is when you started in the welding industry 15 years ago and now? And I'm going to take one area out of that answer, taking technology away. What would you say the biggest difference you've seen in the last 15 to now in the industry has been?
In relationship to distribution, there are not nearly as many family-owned private operations as there are huge corporate conglomerations. And now, I'll tell you what, one thing that I've been it doesn't have a lot to do with my side of the business, but it's an interesting study, is the air separation plant that group of distributors up in Minnesota and Iowa put together to level the playing field a little bit. I don't want to make anybody angry, but
buy cheap and still compete.
It is, and still be competitive because everybody has a right to make a profit in this country.
Good answer. Good answer. Very, very good political answer. I totally agree. One of the things that I've noticed the most is that people are less afraid of sharing information. I think 10, 15 years ago, people guarded things so close to their chest, whether it was their success or their failures. And you didn't want the competition to know how I got another account, how I failed my CDL driver, how whatever. Now, when you go to these meetings, the GATAs, the AWSs, and you see people standing up and sharing some of their shortcomings, sometimes that surprises me the most versus 10 years ago, that you never saw some of these middle-sized big players sharing anything. I'm like, wow, I wonder what changed. But my own opinion, some of what has changed is that now they're giving it up to their second, third generation. So like, that's your problem. I did my thing, and, right?
It could well be. I couldn't figure it out. Your turn.
Right?
Or I did figure it out. Now you make it better. So it's a great observation.
Yeah. So, who knows? Now, you are with Dynaflux.
I am. National Sales Manager. Mm-hmm.
All right. National Sales Manager? Mm-hmm. Such a fancy
Canada, too.
Such a fancy title. What does that mean? What do they do? And what exactly do you do for them as a national sales manager?
So the product line is separated a little bit. We have automotive based chemical products. We also manufacture in-house water circulators for robotic applications, small TIG torches all the way up to the big 600 amp water-cooled torches. Then there's another division. We manufacture a heat tint removal machine that takes the heat tint away from the stainless steel weld and restores it to a passive state.
Yeah.
And then I think the number one thing that we're doing right now are the polycarbonate lenses with the proprietary coatings on it that are really making a big difference, and we make them for every helmet on the market. So
that's pretty cool. And one of the things that impressed me is that you said that most of this it's out of Georgia.
All in Cartersville, Georgia, and before I went
family owned,
privately family owned. Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
I love to hear those stories, and it's one of those. And we've talked about this earlier, so I'm going to ask you on camera now. You started just not too long ago with this company.
January 2nd was
right?
my first
so,
day.
Yeah, that was his New Year resolution, right? And you are a couple of years older than me, and you've been in the industry way longer than me. And we've talked about this. You don't see yourself slowing down because you still love what you do and you're still having fun.
I would agree with everything you just said there. And some people don't grasp the concept of having fun at work. But every time I go get a PO, and it was because of something I did, I get a huge charge out of it. And I'm not willing to give that up anytime soon. So no, I'm with a great company, and if I got 10 more years left in me, this is how I'd like to ride off into the sunset.
And the reason why I wanted to ask you that on camera is because since I met you a few years ago, and I think every time I've seen you, whatever that is, trade show, passing by, the energy and your persona and the aura, it's always been the same. It's always been that happy energy that you are giving out. And if you are that way, then definitely it seems like you're having fun. Even if you have a bad day, a bad week, we all have those. Worst month ever. We all have it. It's sales.
Why did it break?
I know, right? Yeah. It's like fishing. Doesn't mean that you're going to fish every time you cast, right? So I love the energy that I've always seen on you, and so that actually inspired me to people like you to like, hey, this is exactly why I'm in it. This is exactly why I love this industry. People like you, every time I see them, like they just seem happy, and so it's cool. I want to ask you about traveling a little bit now. So have you traveled all of the U.S. or?
I have not been to Alaska.
Okay, that's it?
I think I've hit up just about every one of them, yeah.
All right. Is there a place, without offending anyone, that you've been there, a town, a state, and you go, seen it, done that, don't need to come here again?
You want to hear about the places I really like?
These guys been around the block. These guys, sure, tell me the best place you've ever been or one of the best places that you love. So at least he answers somewhat that answer, so I'll take that.
I actually love it here where I'm living in Tampa Bay.
Really?
Yeah, I mean...
So what is it that you like about Tampa Bay?
Well, it's not perfect. We do get the occasional hurricane. But you get about a week or two to get ready for it. You figure out if you're staying or going or what you're going to do. But I'd take that over the 5-6 months of overcast, skies. Like they used to call it the lake effect,
I know.
You know what I'm talking about. So summertime up there, I love it. But the wintertime up there, I don't.
Guys, I'm wearing sandals right now in this interview.
I almost wore shorts.
So you guys know, if we were in Toledo, New York, I wouldn't. So
it's 80 degrees here.
Right? So you love Tampa. You love the west coast of Florida.
Yep.
But that's because you live here. Tell me about a place that you've actually have visited. It was on a business trip, and it surprised you so much that you go, wow, this place is actually way cooler than I thought it was going to be.
San Diego really caught my eye.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I could ever pay that much to live somewhere.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't either.
But I was so impressed with the Gaslight District, and, there's something about opening up your hotel room window, and then there's an aircraft carrier going by. I mean, that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
And I saw it,
That is pretty cool.
And as slow as it was going, I watched it the whole way. So.
That is pretty cool. Yeah, I had not been in California for 10, 15 years prior to last year or the one before. And then out of the blue, I was in San Diego 3 times back to back to back. I'm like, hey, it doesn't get any better than this. I love that. Is Dynaflux part of any buying groups, part of any other trade shows? Like, where do you guys go? And
So we participate heavily in GATA, Gases and Welding Association. AIWD,
Okay.
IWDC,
Okay.
WEMCO.
Okay.
There's one more.
International one or?
No.
All right. There's one more. If we get the answer, at some point I'll put it on a little header thing there. And
Sorry
the one
about
more
that.
was.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. This is, we're humans. We're humans. What do you expect?
Fab Tech show. We don't generally display there, but we do. We do walk it and entertain and see distributors. And, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And what do you think? Are trade shows, buying groups, as important as they sound?
I've sold with and against. and they do all. I don't know. I think that's a good question. Okay, if it's a commodity product, I think a buying group might not be a bad call.
Okay.
If it's a specialized, unique product that needs to be sold on merits, then I think that's when I think you need an agency type sale or somebody with some experience. So that's the best way to answer that. Some products are perfect for buying groups.
Yeah.
Barcodes and it's easy. And, and then some products I think actually have to be shown, unpackaged, set up, demonstrated.
Got it. Yeah, it's I always love to ask that question because again, it's about the industry. It's about learning what works for others, what works for you, what works for him and for me, and so on. And we all have a different idea on what has worked in the past. And where would you like to see the industry in the next 5 or 10 years? Especially because you still want to be in it in the next 5-10 years. Is there one thing that you would say, I would love this to change while I'm in it, and just for the sake of the industry?
Yes.
Damn, he already knew that. He's been thinking about it.
I was teed up on that one since 5 o'clock.
Gotcha.
My biggest concern about this industry is the lack of young people that I see at these meetings and at the shows and we're heading into an interesting time where, for the first time, and I think since World War II, a college education may not be as important as it was just a few years ago.
It's true.
And I'm seeing a real uptick, especially around Florida, for these VOTEC schools. And every time I'm working with an agency guy and I get a chance to address a VOTEC class, I love to do that because I like to tell them that, because half of those kids are there because they want to be, half of them are there because they have to be, and there's probably a percentage of them there that don't have any place else to go. And maybe they don't all want to be behind the welding hood for the rest of their life, and I let them know with what they're going to learn here. There's jobs like mine out there, there's product manager jobs, there's all kinds of sales positions, and you don't have to make your living as a welder. You can just make your living selling the welding products. And
that's exactly what this is all about right here.
It is.
Just teaching everyone out there that there's more to it than being under the hood. That's just the truth. So that's a great answer to that, because I think it's the same feeling that most of your generation and even my generation starts to think about these things. But the only thing that I see is that great to say it, but how are you acting on it? Because what I see is that we complain a lot about what we have created. We complain about the millennials, we complain about these things, but who the hell created them? We did. We gave them everything they have. Every time they ask for a new device, every time they ask for, here, hon, here, babe, whatever. So now we created this monster, and we just want to say they suck, but we are not finding ways to communicate with them and relate what we know to them. If we are the smart ones, the ones with all the experience, we cannot find how to communicate with them, and they're saying the same thing because all they want is the same things, just delivered different.
That's it.
That's
all in the packaging.
There you go. Good touch on that. I love that. Tim, I want to thank you for not only your friendship, for always being friendly, for always just coming out of your way to say hi, that means a lot to people in starting in the industry. Now I'm 13, 14 years in, and I think I'm starting to get what this industry is. But in the beginning, running into people like you, it makes it easier to feel welcome. So it means a lot. I thank you. Is there anything else that you would like to share about you, Dynaflux, to the two viewers watching this, my mom and your wife? Yeah.
Just we appreciate what you're doing, Frankie, and thanks for being my friend.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Guys, I couldn't end that on a better note. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you guys like the content. I hope you guys keep cheers supporting this channel and keep learning about the people in the industry, which is who makes the industry. Thank you, guys.
Cheers.